think about this, man. When we started Speed Freaks 22 years ago, you weren't even old enough to drink.
Yeah, well, I was drinking, but probably not legally. So, yeah.
Freak Nation, good to get him back in here. Scott Dixon, a 22-race win streak, or shall I say lack of win streak here in the Freak Nation. 22 races without a win of Scott Dixon. But, Scott, I'm listening to the biography of David Grohl of the Foo Fighters, and similar situations where you guys grow up from small families, not a whole lot to hang your hat on, and all of a sudden, through walks of life, you become some of the greatest names in your respective jobs. And he talks about all these musicians he grew up wanting to meet and idolize and be like them. Kiwi, like you, who were the drivers like you, or were they drivers? Were they rock stars? Who were the people that you idolized as a punk ass kid at 15, 14, scuffing up your tennis shoes on the tough streets of New Zealand?
I think in New Zealand, where we are so far away from the rest of the world, for me, it was, local heroes like, Kenny Smith, and then V8 Supercars was big, so you had, Greg Murphy and Jim Richards. But then I think, for us being probably more of a European country too, it was Formula One, so watching the likes of Ayrton Senna to, Michael Schumacher, I think he really kind of transformed Formula One in a lot of ways too, with Senna, and just the way that the training was picked up and the process was totally different. It kind of changed a lot from, the 70s and 80s, where it was more still about, having some, beers and smoking cigarettes and things like that. So I don't know. I think there's always a lot of influences, but for me, it started with my dad. That's how it really started, watching him kind of race in club sport stuff, whether it was rally car to circuit cars to dirt track stuff. And then, ultimately my cousins, I went and watched my cousins race go-karts at the age of 7, and then, had to go at the end of the day and absolutely loved it. And that's kind of what my trigger was driving that go-kart for the first time and being like, man, this is amazing. Like, I really want to do this. But then, of course, you have big dreams and hope that things are going to work out. But I think once I got the interest of watching the Indianapolis 500, which was probably in the kind of early 90s to mid 90s, and hearing the names of the Andrettis to AJ Foyt to the Unces, Rick Mears, that and that racing kind of fascinated me, just because it was so competitive, and it wasn't until really the last lap that you knew who the winner was going to be. So and then for me, coming for the first time, I think in 1996 or 97 to America to watch a kart race in Vancouver and then Laguna Seca, I was hooked.
Whatever you do, General Tire delivers.
When you started to meet these drivers, the AJ Foyts, the Mears, the Andrettis, curious of your reaction then versus where you are now, because you are one of them to younger drivers. Like, I just met Scott Dixon. Can you even compare the two?
No, I don't know. Like, you look at that generation, man, they were just lucky to make it out alive. Which, fortunately we're in a generation where safety has become, much better. But I don't know, it's weird. Like, I was, very shy when it came to America, very shy, in these early years of hanging out with the likes of Jimmy Vasser and, Paul Tracy, Michael Andretti, Mauricio Gugelmin was my teammate, but that was kind of really the only person I spoke to. And then occasionally, as you'd kind of go to some of the after parties, have a few drinks and kind of get a little more courage, you'd start talking to these people. But the cool part for me is just, even AJ and Mario, we still see them pretty much 90% of the races, which is crazy because you can just go up and chat to them, and that's what's so cool about these people and what they've achieved and what they've done. But their love for the sport is insane.
Scott Dixon, just hearing you talk about them and saying things like what they've achieved, what they've done, I want to apply that to you, what you've achieved. Obviously, you just tied Mario Andretti on the all-time wins list at 52 wins, second on the list, but you've immersed yourself in Indianapolis. You've become part of the city and you are the culture of IndyCar. So, I mean, it's not long. We're not long from the time where people are going to say, oh my gosh, Scott Dixon is my neighbor. I mean, he walks the paddock and he makes it so easy for me to talk to. How crazy is that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because I'm just living the dream, like I came from, South Auckland, New Zealand, a long ways away. Never really thought I'd race in America. I was kind of on the way to Europe and going that route. And I lived in Indy for 2 years before I even went to the race. I think I moved here in 99. I actually might have been 3 years. I didn't go until 2002 when I signed with Chip Ganassi Racing. To kind of watch it on TV, it doesn't do it justice. It kind of clicked when I went for the first time. I was like, holy cow, like I actually get why this race is so big. Like it's amazing on so many levels. And I always say I've been to Olympic Games, I've been to World Cups, I've been to Super Bowls. Nothing has a touch on Indy. And I'm going to be a little bit biased because I'm into racing, but as far as an event goes and just, people watching and just seeing the sheer size of it, it's insane. Like, so I don't know, like I love Indy. I love the pace of it. I love the people here. And it's where we brought our family up. It's one of those things where it's not a crazy city and it allows you to focus on the sport that I love. And luckily my wife enjoys it too, which really helps because ultimately she sets the rules. So yeah, it's I don't know. I love so many aspects of it, but I think, what is firsthand is just the history and the people that, make Indianapolis what it is.
Drama at 200 miles per hour. It's not a reality show. It's real life, real fast. IndyCar, only at WWT Raceway, the Bommarito Automotive Group 500, Saturday, August 20th.
What would be Scott Dixon had you not sat your butt in that go-kart many, many, many years ago? What would you be doing? What was your path or your projected trajectory? I mean, where would Scott be?
It's hard, right? Because I was only 7, so.
But you had big dreams.
I had big dreams of I don't know, probably being a firefighter or I have no idea. I loved cars. I think cars was always, a thing. I loved technology, graphics and design was kind of, what I studied in high school, and then IT. So something probably along those lines. But I think, a lot of those things can apply in racing too, whether I moved into kind of the engineering stance of it as well. I love, kind of that side of what we do and deep diving. And obviously lots of things have changed now with technology. We never, even when I started, there was no kind of data to, once I got to kind of higher levels of junior categories, to look at and go through the process. So it was more kind of, by the seat of your bum trying to understand what you needed. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, that's a tough one to answer. I could be, I don't know, a laborer. I don't know. I don't know what I would have been. I'm just glad it worked. I'm glad it worked out.
What I'm picking up, though, is you have all the tools to be team owner, team management down the road. Whenever you decide to turn in your butterfly, no more steering wheel.
Definitely not team owner, unless I'm using your money. I don't want to touch that. I admire team owners because, to have that situation and it's expensive, and from year to year, it's very difficult, even for drivers to try and figure out what you're going to be doing from year to year is quite tough. But I admire the risk that team owners take, and they still seem to enjoy it, which is fantastic.
Wow, Scott Dixon, man, oh man, is it great to hear your voice and to talk to you again. It's been a couple of days since you were in the Freak Nation. Scott Dixon, winner at Toronto, tied Mario Andretti for 52 wins. And you laid out that list of stuff there. IT. Is Scott Dixon a geek? I had questions here.
I'm a big geek, man. Do you need your iPhone fixed or your computer there? Like, I'll come over, man. I'll come fix your stuff.
Oh, just pow, fell out of the screen. We've known you since before you had family, and now you dropped that on us. I'm just stunned. Growing up in New Zealand, there was the Millen Brothers were huge at the time. You didn't mention them. I was great friends with Rod at least, and somewhat friends with Steve.
Yeah.
Steve won the first IndyCar race. You didn't mention their names. They weren't big in New Zealand as they were here in the United States.
They were big. It's actually weird. I have a close relationship with Rod. I had lunch with, well, actually had dinner with him probably about a month ago, and talked to him kind of every week, and his wife Shelley. So it was kind of funny. I think I missed that portion of their careers, and mostly was the stadium truck stuff, then Pikes Peak. But just to I've done Leadfoot Festival, which they run down in New Zealand, which is kind of a mini Goodwood, up the driveway, which at Rod's place in New Zealand in Hahe. And
wait! I'm cutting you off there. How'd you do in that? That's a lot of major drivers get in there to racing up Rod Millen's driveway. Sounds crazy, but
I was there more for the after parties. I think I was in a Honda Civic Type R, which is a very fast car for that kind of class, I guess. But and then I think the first time I drove it, I actually drove a 1906 Dirac. So it looks like it was one of the first ever Grand Prix cars, which was crazy. Loads of torque, but it looks like basically a big tractor. Like the engine is literally, I don't know, 5 meters long or something. It was huge. But that was my first time and first experience at that place. And you had the brake was actually a hand brake. You couldn't use the foot brake. So it was yeah. So let's just say I wasn't the quickest up the hill. That's for sure.
Let me ask one more here, Scott Dixon. You've done everything. You've won 6 championships, second most race wins ever. You're a huge name in motorsport. You flirted with F1 for a while, or F1 flirted with you, whichever. You beat a guy this weekend who F1 is flirting with. They're having some sort of relationship. Who the heck knows? Have you reached the point in Scott Dixon's career where you're having fun?
I'm always having fun. I trust me, it's a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of details to it, but I couldn't imagine myself doing anything different. I think, and that's what drives me, is that, I feel lucky doing what I'm doing. There's many different roads that you could have taken, but looking back on my career, I think and the journey that I had, and the people that helped me, and the opportunities that I had, you couldn't have written it more perfect. So I love doing what I do. I feel very lucky to get where I got to, and the journey that I took. I don't really regret anything, that's for sure. So yeah, no, I'm happy doing what I do, and I love it. I think that's why I want to continue to do it for a long time.
Your IT guy. I'm sorry, Craig.
It sounds like you're having some mic problems there, man. I need to come around and help you out.
You're a Windows or Mac. You're a Windows or Mac guy. If you're a Windows dude, I might give you a call as soon as
I'll tell you what. If you get a Mac, then you won't need any IT people. They just work.
See?
Man.
Yes, he's on our
cat
side.
and dog conversation. All right, there you go.
Man, new car, new oil. What kind of oil should I put in this thing? I can't figure that out. I got to get something. I'm here in the ATPA pits. Maybe I ought to go check somebody out, see what they suggest.
This freaking segment is brought to you by Lucas Oil Products. Lucas Oil. Keep that engine alive.
Hey, you got a birthday coming up. Well, happy birthday to you, buddy. At 42 years old, man. And think about this, man. When we started SpeedFreaks 22 years ago, you weren't even old enough to drink.
Yeah, well, I was drinking, but probably not legally. So yeah, it's. I remember that. I think I celebrated at a bar that I'd been going to. My first IndyCar win. I celebrated in Indianapolis here at a bar that I've been going to for 2 years, and I still wasn't 21. So they were a little shocked when that stat was read off. But hey, that's the way it goes.
Broad Ripple's used to it. They have
that's
to.
Right. That's right.
Holy smokes! And as if Ganassi of all teams needed this win to take the headline away from Palou and Ganassi and McLaren. He's probably patting you on the back with a couple of extra hundies going, thank you, Scotty.
No, it's, honestly, to have, what do you have? 3 cars in the top 4 of the championship. I'm tied with Joseph at the moment, I think, for 4th. But, it was a big weekend. I think the recovery, even the 10 car had, Alex had from 22nd to 6th and Marcus, moving up to 5th. So, Chip was very calm on the weekend. Yes, there was a lot of noise, but I think it actually helped people focus a lot on what was really at hand and what we needed to do. So, it was a competitive weekend for us. And yeah, Chip was happy, man. He smiled and he said, thank you, So that was good.
It's beautiful. Buddy, happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Great to see you guys.
Scott, thank you, man.
Cheers.